What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is January 1st of 2019. Okay, I had to drag it out seeing as it's the start of the new year, and I want to start off the video by saying that I hope you all are having a wonderful beginning to 2019, and I hope you'll be able to achieve all the goals that you've set in your New Year's resolutions. For me personally, I've already got plentiful amounts of goals that I've been trying to chase in 2018 that I'm going to be chasing in 2019, but again, I wish you all the best. Today I want to spend some time outside of my normal daily updates to spend some time talking, as I do from time to time, about mindsets in regards to getting better at trading and investing and predicting markets specifically. And I want to spend some time to talk about really separating expectations versus what's expected to come in reality. And I think this is an important thing to take away from 2018 because a lot of us in the crypto space, and especially myself and many others like myself, I'm guilty as charged, thought that 2018 was going to be much more optimistic than it turned out to be. Right, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time not only to talk about how I had set previous predictions for this year back in May, a little bit midway through the year of 2018 as to how the year would end, and I want to talk about the lessons that I learned from it and the mindset changes that I've taken on. I've always taken into account my flaws, guys, and I want to use them to become a better individual, to predict markets better. And it's how I've improved as a trader. It's how I've been able to spot markets like cryptocurrencies quite early on. So that being realized, let's go ahead and dive into the video and talk about 2018 as a year in review, and then we'll take some time to talk about 2019. So 2018 as a year really was seen in the eyes of a lot of people as these different trends. Many people were talking about how 2018 would be the year of regulations, that 2018 would be the year of security tokens, that it would be the year of a variety of different types of trends coming around the horizon. And to be fair, a lot of these predictions kind of fell under. Not to mention, 2018 really was a year where I think more than anything, there was technology improvements, right? Regulation still kind of up in the air. We're still trying to get some details from the SEC and all these other organizations. I know some people couldn't care what the SEC has to say, but it does matter when it comes to things like Bitcoin ETFs and a lot of the financial products coming through. But along with this as well, in regards to the technological improvements, we've had some really positive changes. It looks like in a lot of the major technological improvements like Lightning Network, a lot of the, for example, privacy implementations, things like Schnorr signatures, a lot of these are coming to the front and might even come into fruition for some of the major protocols like Bitcoin in 2019. So there was some positive news. Putting the positive news aside, though, it is important to realize that people like myself were very, very far off. I was thinking that Bitcoin would remain to hold at 6,000 and it would continue higher in regards to its price. We did not get that. In fact, we got the contrary. Bitcoin's price went lower, right? And that's not fun to say. It's not fun because it not only means Bitcoin was going down, but it also means the market valuations over the past year were going down. And it was quite painful in a sense. I'm not going to lie. It was something that I didn't expect. And it was completely contrary to this kind of ideology I had that the crypto market was just around the cusp of becoming a world store of value, but also a set of peer-to-peer currencies for the future. Now, how could I have gotten so sidetracked? How could have I gotten so caught up in this idea that markets were going to be so positive this year? Well, it has to do with the fact that I spend every single day in it, and I understand the power and impact that this market is going to have in the long term. It's just that my expectations were too quick, and I think it's something we commonly find nowadays. We expect things to happen very quickly. We kind of get caught in our own bubbles sometimes, and again, in 2018, it was the first year I actually started traveling across the world, and I got to meet people from all different types of backgrounds who really believed in this movement as much as I did. But I think the thing I didn't realize is how small of an ecosystem we are. In fact, percentage-wise, we are less than 1% of the world's population, people who own cryptocurrencies. That is extremely small. That's the equivalent of the internet during 1994. So that hopefully that provides some perspective. And I think that's an important lesson to take away is just how small we are, but in a positive sense, just how much we have to potentially gain, not only potentially financially if this market continues to expand into a multi-trillion-dollar currency market, but along with that as well, just how much we have yet to see in regards to technological innovation, in regards to expansion of users into this space. I'm very excited to see these things over the next few years, and it's not all going to happen in 2019. So We've got a few years for this to go through, and possibly well over a decade. I've been predicting that 2020 to 2030 is really when we're going to start to see the cusp of adoption. We're going to have our dot-com bubble of crypto, and then after that, we're going to start to have, again, more technological innovation, more usage of the currency across the world. It takes a lot of time to make that grand switch from fiat currencies to cryptocurrencies, unless you really need it, as we've been seeing in Venezuela. So that being realized, let's go ahead. I want to spend some time to talk about, obviously, we were off in regards to some of the predictions for cryptocurrency prices, no doubt about that. But in regards to a few of the other predictions I've been talking about, I was talking about Deutsche Bank going under. Now, I want to spend some time to, again, stand by the point that I do believe whether or not Deutsche Bank goes fully under, I do believe they're going to get at a point where they need the government to step in some regard. And this could happen, again, in 2019 or 2020. I'm not going to set a date on this, guys. I've kind of stepped away from doing predictions in this case. But the reason I have stepped away from predictions in that case, but yet I remain so confident, is because obviously Deutsche Bank is kind of the weak link in the financial sector, even though it plays a major role in Germany. It does not have a good business model at the moment. It's been trying to shift and pivot off into finding a new way to generate revenue. And it's going more actually into doing traditional banking practices like commercial lending, but it had huge overexposure to derivatives. Now, the reason I'm not going to make predictions on when this thing will collapse is because I've realized just how long Deutsche Bank has been in a downtrend. I think I should have taken a step back and realized, man, this thing has been able to persist for a very long time, even though it's been in a weak position for a very long time. The banking sector gets a very nice privilege in that sense. So, again, to my point here, I think we need to, again, not be so black and white in regards to our views on how the world works. And this is something, again, that I'm working to improve on. I've learned a lot as I've gotten to travel. I've gotten to see how macro traders and investors think, which, again, are some of the people who I envy the most. Or at least admire in that sense. I don't so much envy, but I admire and I want to learn from. And again, in this case of Deutsche Bank, I have no doubt with the Danske Bank scandal, which came out later on. I didn't even know about that back in May. I mean, that's been relatively recent news. But along with that as well, with the flaws that are inside the company, we can see that it's coming. But maybe it's important not to set a date or to be so eager for that collapse to come. What's more intriguing, though, outside of just Deutsche Bank, is the financial sector. And how the financial sector has started to deplete across the board. We've been seeing most banking stocks down, going to their lows across the indices, anywhere from around, 30 to 33% already in 2018 from the highs. And that's pretty telling as to where we're probably heading into 2019 and 2020 after 10 years since 2008. So again, there's a lot of interesting things we can gain. Again, I think I wasn't too far off. Interest rates continued to rise. Equities and, for example, housing prices have started to actually drop in many cases. But again, maybe a little bit too eager in that case. Now, talking about 2019, right? We've talked about 2018, some of my predictions that did come true, some that very much did not come true. What are some lessons we can take from that? And then also, what can we look forward to in 2019? The lessons that I would say to take into account, and when I say don't view the world in a black and white vision, this is a very important thing. It has nothing to do with what some people might think. It generally has to do with not viewing the world between two different paths. So I'll give you an example. Cryptocurrencies. Some people believe that cryptocurrencies, because they're not perfect now, will never be useful. Nouriel Roubini, for example, a very well-respected economist, who believes that there is never going to be value for censorship-resistant peer-to-peer currencies that can't be censored by banks and governments, that can be sent globally and is much more effective than SWIFT, right? Even at today, people don't see the value in it. But then there are also those people who believe that cryptocurrency is the save-all of the world, that everyone's going to become their own peer-to-peer bank, that it's going to happen tomorrow, that everyone really cares about privacy and everyone cares about censorship resistance, and everyone doesn't want to work with trusted parties, which is just not true. The world isn't that simple. Some people really don't care about privacy. Take a look at how many people are using Facebook on a day-to-day basis and are willing to sell their data for free applications. And take a look at the amount of people who use bank accounts. I mean, all of us who purchased crypto on exchange had to use a bank in that case, right? We might not think it's favorable, but we do it on a day-to-day basis. Our actions speak different than our words sometimes. So this is leading to my major point, guys. I usually approach this. This is my way of approaching things in general, as it was before in 2017 and 2016. But I'm getting better and better at it, and that is not viewing the world in a black and white nature. It is to look at things as much more complex and much more interconnected and distinct than what we might think. It isn't simply, for example, I guess in the world of a conspiracy theorist, it's not all one group who controls everything, but rather, for example, in the regards to how the world works, it is a group of interconnected individuals, and it is groups with different interests and values and different areas where their money is invested, right? I think that's a good analogy to kind of get it across. I hopefully made that quite easy to understand. But again, that's my major lesson here that I've learned in this year, is to really focus on not falling into the trap of living in a bubble and thinking the way the world works is simple. It's not. It takes time. These shifts do take time. And obviously, if we can see into the future, we can prepare for it. But it doesn't mean we have to set a date for something to, have a paradigm shift in a sense, I guess. I think that's the best way to put it. So now that we've done that, now we've learned, at least I've shared my lesson with you guys. What's to look forward to in 2019? Well, I think there's obviously two things that a lot of people have already talked about in regards to the crypto space, and that is, for example, the ETF that's coming potentially in February. The last ETF vote on the VanEck SolidX Bitcoin ETF is going to be in February. A lot of people are probably betting by this time that the SEC is going to approve this. I'm going to go on a limb and say that there is a very, very good chance that it might very well get rejected and that we won't have any ETFs on the table, at least for a few months. And again, this comes with the realization again that things take time, guys. The SEC is probably realizing that the same issues persist in cryptocurrencies. The BART charts on Bitcoin are obvious and clear. A few whales are propping up Bitcoin a few $100s and down a few $100s. We have not gotten the security in regards to fighting off market manipulation in that sense, as well as in regards to Bitcoin in this case. The volatility that we have might scare off the SEC. Now, again, I don't think that's really an argument in that case. There's triple leveraged ETFs on pretty much anything you can think of, and those are in some cases much more volatile than cryptocurrencies. But again, I think they want to see more volume. I think they want to see more distribution of the currency where it can't be simply completely manipulated, or see the asset drop from 6,000 to the low 3,000 range within a couple of weeks. I think that's what they're fearing over. So, as much as they might reject this, again, VanEck and SolidX, as they did beforehand, will probably submit the exact same proposal. It has little to nothing to do with these proposals in my mind in regards to the proposal being wrong. It has to do with the SEC waiting for the perfect moment. So hopefully we'll get something in 2019. I think it could be very likely to see that, but I don't think in February we're going to get this. But again, maybe I'm a contrarian indicator in that case. I said the ETF was coming all the previous times, and now I'm saying it's not. Maybe it's coming in February. Who knows? But anyways, you guys will have to do with it as you will. Going on to talk about Bakkt, I want to spend some time to talk about some really positive news. Bakkt has recently raised almost $200 million, $182.5 million in a recent round of funding for the platform. And I think this is great. This shows exactly as to what I'm talking about in regards to, maybe we were just a little bit behind the curve, or ahead of the curve in this case, and predicting when things were coming. Seems like Bakkt is going to be an exciting launch, and I bet it will generate some good trading revenue for actual Bitcoin settlement in this case with the physically backed Bitcoin futures contracts. That being realized, we're going to have to wait and see. Raising capital doesn't really excite me that much. I want to see them actually launch well, have a successful launch, and attract a lot of user adoption. If that doesn't happen, it doesn't matter if Bakkt must raise $200 million, right? So I do wish them the best of luck. I think they've got some of the best leadership you can think of in trying to launch something like this with the leadership they have over from ICE and NASDAQ. But again, we have to wait and see. All right. I think this is definitely one of the few catalysts that could play as a positive factor for crypto. But one thing that I want to talk about that excites me more than both of these factors is the adoption in emerging markets. Now, this is something that is not going to be sudden. It is not going to be quick. I know it's going to be painful. We're going to have to wait. But over the next few years, as I've talked about, between 2020 to 2030, a big role of this adoption that I see coming through that could get us to the 3 or 5% mark in the next few years is going to be the adoption of cryptocurrency in emerging market populations. And we can already see across the board here, the USA plays a minor role in exchanges like local bitcoins in regards to volume. We see Russia processing 26.5%. Venezuela, a prime example of a country facing a currency crisis, 12.2% of all local bitcoins volume. China at 9.7%. Even with a ban, interestingly enough, China is still seeing trading volume. Nigeria at 7.6%. Again, another country hit by corrupt governments, hit by corrupt monetary policy. And even, for example, some developed countries like the UK. But as we go down here, it becomes very clear you've got countries like India that are starting to lose faith in their banking system. Peru as well. Thailand as well, which I know is definitely very tech savvy and looking for other alternatives. And a variety of other countries. So, again, you can go through and look at this data. It's very, very exciting to see countries like Argentina in a similar shoe to Venezuela with, again, terrible monetary policy, devaluation of the currency. Venezuela going off the map here in regards to Bolivar volume being traded on the weekly. We can see here as well, Brazil, again, not even really slowing down from the highs of, December, for example, in regards to volume here. And we can see this with a lot of other things like Chile, which is having issues with its currency. And you just go across the board, Colombia, Mexico, and also in India. So what is my prediction for 2019? I think it would be better instead of waiting till May to make some modest predictions for 2019. Well, I'll go ahead and make a few as we step into the new year. A few of my predictions that I want to make, and I do stand by very confidently, is that going into next year in 2020, it is going to be very clear that India, China, and Russia, some of the largest emerging markets on the planet, are going to be in an even more rough spot when it comes to their currency, when it comes to their economy. I think that China and India are going to be struggling very heavily with the flaws of the less regulated banking sector known as the shadow banking sector that has played a large role in India and China's economy, whereas Russia, for example, is going to be struggling very much with low energy prices, seeing as it's a major export economy. So to rough that off, I think that you're going to see, as my first pledge, a lot of the major emerging markets struggling even more, not only with their economies, but also with their currencies. And this, again, could be a segue for people to start getting a little bit more interested in cryptocurrencies. I don't think it's going to be the whole switch of the population over to crypto, but again, it will get more people talking about it. And this could cause enough panic that actually could help be a factor in carrying crypto adoption, not only in price, but also in the sense of real volume. So, very excited about that. That'll be my one prediction. Second off, this year, it is highly likely that we will see a Bitcoin ETF. I do not believe we are going to get the one in February, and I don't think it's going to be in Q1 or Q2 of this year. It will be later on in this year. I think very similar, for example, to how Bitcoin futures in 2017 were a catalyst to carry prices higher. The hype going into it, I think, will very much drag on prices much higher. And third, my next prediction here is that throughout 2019 to 2020, we will have seen a near 40 to 50% correction in equities. So from the peak of 2008, I think we're very well going to be on our way to about a 40 to 50% correction in that case towards the close of 2019. So we'll have to see if it comes into fruition, guys. Those are my 3 predictions for the year. Again, they're not meant to be financial advice. You don't have to take them seriously. It's just what I'm looking forward to in the year. I think they're much more humble than last year's in regards to where I was estimating things would turn out. And price prediction for Bitcoin, I'm going to stay away from that because I think this year we are going to have a nice drawn out bottom over the next few months, or at least a bottom between the range of 3,000 to 6,000. And then after that, who knows where we can go. I don't think we're going to be passing the highs this year unless we get talks of a Bitcoin ETF. But again, I'll have to remain patiently. I'm going to stay away from price predictions for now. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the break for those of you who are taking a break at the moment due to the holidays. just want to say I appreciate you sticking around, guys. 2018 was an amazing year, even though it obviously wasn't an optimistic year for crypto. It has been a great year to, track markets and share the knowledge that I know with you guys, and just to see you guys sticking around even when things aren't buzzing in the crypto space, and to see you eager to learn about other markets as well. It means a lot to me personally. And again, I appreciate that you're still here. I'm going to keep on doing my content the way I always do, so long as you stay, and I'll keep rambling as I always do as well. Anyways, that's it for the video, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and best of luck with your New Year's resolutions. I'll see you all in the next video.